No, I totally agree with you, because the progenitor of all of this debt slavery, of this neo-feudalistic system, is the New World Order controllers. It is their social engineering model. And for the New World Order, global government is just the beginning. As we say in the film Endgame, their stated plan is a global police state to then carry out the forced sterilization of the entire population except for a tiny group of globalists. This is full spectrum dominance. And if people just get angry at the atmosphere created by the engineers, their anger, their focus will be used and shunted and directed into empowering New World Order agendas instead of bringing it down. And that's why what you just said is the absolute paramount heart of everything and the genesis of true human liberty if we're going to have it.
Yeah, who benefits? Who benefits? Who benefits? We got to keep asking that. Who benefits from this situation? Who benefits from me reacting to this situation like this? And this is why I say we have to get ourselves informed, not just about what size shoes the president of so-and-so takes, not that just that kind of information, much of which we don't really need to know anyway, informed about how the psychological system works, the techniques of mass-minded emotional manipulation, and where this cabal want to take the world. When we understand the basic techniques of mind and psychological manipulation and the goals that are designed to be achieved,
it's like getting your sight.
It immediately becomes so much more difficult to scam.
Exactly. When you're not aware of these systems of control, it's like you're blind and deaf. As soon as you understand their tricks, it isn't as powerful anymore, and it actually becomes irritating, not something that puts you into a trance, but something their attacks actually help us learn to be smarter, faster, to understand it. But going to break here. Here's the Associated Press. The IMF says, or AFP, IMF says to help Egypt, others in trouble. Oh, they're going to help them with more 20, 30% interest rate loans. They're going to bring the Egyptians more under debt. They're going to jack up their taxes even more. So there is part of your agenda with the physical takeover through the economic bondage. We got 2 more segments with David Icke coming up. Powerful information. DavidIcke.com. Knowledge is power. And any of you listeners understand the world greater than David or myself do. All of us have different gifts, different talents, and understanding. But the biggest mission is people are confused. They're angry right now. We can't have the globalists, as Ron Paul has said, misdirect them into supporting a bigger New World Order move. That's why we carry films like What in the World Are They Spraying, dealing with chemtrails, my film Endgame that covers their master agenda, Invisible Empire that we produced by Jason Burmis is excellent, Terror Storm, A History of Government-Sponsored Terror, all these films massively discounted at Infowars.com. And David's books and his work, all of it is so important. But David, we've got you into the next segment. You're gracious to join us. But I wanted to do something here that the producers showed me earlier, and that's TweetPsych. That's the website. And if you type in somebody's tweet account, they're monitoring the tweets. The Library of Congress is saving all of them. And they know the psychological profile of your users. You type in the real Alex Jones for tweet, and you scroll down, and most of it is media, social, future, people wanting to know, future trends, learning, positive, conceptual, basically philosophy, the senses. See, it's all about primordial, that's what people are into. They're into primordial, the core of humanity, destiny, enlightenment, awakening. That's who comes to my tweet, and they're tracking them and know who they are. And it's much more detailed with the cable boxes tracking you, the Google tracking you right down to your individual profile. Now, you go to something like 2.5 Men or Joe Rogan, and, these are nice guys, smart, shows, whatever. I like Joe. He's into awakening. But still, the point is, what is it? It's sex. It's lower senses things. We'll scroll down and show that sex, vast majority. But then they're also into primordial and things like that. So you see some of the same interest, media. And if you type in something like 2.5 Men, it will show you what they're into. This is just one example of how they've gotten us tied into this. The internet is a double-edged sword. They thought they would use it as a worldwide wiretap. DARPA did. Instead, we're using it against them, but we have to understand they're now bragging that they can predict mass movements almost 100% of the time. How do you deal with something like that with these super technologies the globalists have, David Icke?
The thing about the internet is that it's given us so many tools to communicate information that these people overwhelmingly do not want communicated. Without the internet, people would not, at this point, be anything like as informed about what's going on as they are. Therefore, given that the internet was introduced through military technology, etc., for that to be given to the people, if you like, to use for the benefit of awakening and awareness, there must be something absolutely colossal and fundamental in it for them on the other side for that to have been done. And, you know, I think what we need to do is start to look about the reality and from an internet point of view. The internet is actually a collective human mind, or an extension of it, because
we put our thoughts, our dreams, our art, everything in one area.
Yeah, anything that you focus on with mind becomes an extension of mind. And therefore, the collective human mind has an extension now called the World Wide Web, the Internet. And therefore, if you are skilled in understanding how to read this information, and goodness knows the advancement of the computer technology they must have outside.
We can organically do what their supercomputers can do individually. They're trying to mimic the human mind by scanning the web.
What you can do is read the human mind by what the human mind is putting onto the web, an extension.
Yes,
of
stay there, stay there, stay there. Power. The web is almost like a mirror of what people are really thinking. So the globalists can see our soul. They can see who we really are, just like 1,000-question psychological test can show you something. Well, these are millions of choices we individually make, watching digital TV that tracks us on Twitter, Facebook, Google. They admit they can now, quote, predict mass movement futures, 93% of the time individuals. That's what they're telling us they have. But you're right. Using the web and seeing things, I can simply go to Shoutcast and tell what people are more interested in, watching the numbers go up. There's simple things like that, but it's much deeper, and the globalists know. That's why I've got Rolling Stone, New York Magazine, Newsweek, all these people calling me because they're saying, we see your numbers. My radio show, Infowars.com, bigger than MSNBC. A tiny operation. They see what all of us are doing is huge and powerful. They know the awakening's there, and they don't know how to deal with it. That's why Obama's calling for the internet kill switch. That's why worldwide, Australia, England, they are actually scared. David Icke.
Well, when anyone in the public arena, a scientist or whatever, comes out and says, we're working on this technology which years from now could do this, say in terms of computers, they're talking about building quantum computers, the advancement and potential for which to process information is just staggering. It makes the best computers today look like the village idiot. When they're saying it's coming, they might genuinely be telling the truth from their point of view, because they're not aware of what's going on outside of their sphere of knowledge in the secret projects, etc. But things like quantum computers that we're going to have in the future, these guys have got them now. I mean, if we could see the computing technology, information processing technology that they have, we would be staggered at how far ahead of the public arena it is. And what we're doing all the time with the internet, and it's important we use it, massively important. We have to use these things to our advantage and mitigate as much as we can the things that are a disadvantage. But they are receiving, second by second, all over the world, through many and various sources, which these computers can process and put into ordered predicted outcomes on where it's going. People's views, people's minds are being, and the state of their minds are being
10
okay?
years ago, the
Onto
Pentagon admitted they have a map of 3D of the entire world already, and they admit with smart dust and all these meters and tracking, they're making the real world searchable like Google.
Yeah, I mean the technology they're dealing with is fantastic, but you know we must keep coming back to this, I suggest, and that is for all their technology and for all their know-how, for all the knowledge they have that they keep from the people in general. We have the numbers. We have billions compared with a relative handful at the core of this that are behind it all, and the idea is to keep us in a constant state of divide and rule, fear, and confusion and chaos and bewilderment, so that we do not unite and meet this together. Because one of the things that does come out of these people's revolutions, although, of course, sometimes the military are called off, but even then the military can only go so far, and that is the power of vast numbers of people saying enough. There comes a point where the numbers are so great that there's nothing the system can do about it, and we must keep that in our minds.
While David was talking, I've been into a jalapeno. I love them, and then got a little bit of it down in my lung. Boy, I tell you, that'll wake you up. Like drinking 5 cups of coffee. It's our final segment with David. I do want to get to a few phone calls with him, but if you just joined us, David Icke, author, researcher, was getting into the awakening, and one of my biggest frustrations, but at the same time it's exciting because I know how close we are to shifting, you know, the tide against tyranny. I believe it's already changed, but the momentum is now accelerating towards awakening and resistance to the globalist system that is so horrible, that is so destructive towards humanity. And David, you talked a lot about compartmentalization, how when you were covering Bilderberg Group, and there down at the bottom of the hill was police officers who had children, who were nice guys, you talked to them, and here they were guarding these world leaders who were destroying their future, putting poisons in their water and vaccines, openly writing books about how they're doing it. But it's so horrific that cop either can't or won't look at the evidence because they feel like they're part of the power structure. But as soon as we can explain to the military, to bureaucrats, to the police, to ourselves, you know, if you want to look at who caused the problem, folks, look in the mirror. It's our inaction or our buying into their propaganda that has allowed this. But we are under attack by these globalists. 99.9% of us, 99.9% of us have a stake in defeating the New World Order control grid, and so it shouldn't even be a debate. I shouldn't have to be here pleading people to wake up and get involved. It's common sense, no-brainer once you understand the true agenda. Can you briefly speak to compartmentalization and the real choice we've got?
Yes, because the numbers at the core of this are so small compared with the global population that to control the global population, the inner core has to recruit from the target population to keep the target population in line. It has to fill its uniforms and its dark suit administrators' positions with the target population. And through compartmentalization, through only letting people know as much as they need to know to make their contribution to the whole package, without knowing what the whole package is, it means that people with children and grandchildren are going to work all over the world, day after day after day, all their lives, helping to build a prison for themselves and for their children, grandchildren, and families. And that situation in Switzerland, it was just a classic. I was staying with some people in southern Switzerland near the Italian border, and a round robin came round saying the Bilderberg Group meeting this year is at so-and-so. And it was on top of a mountain, about 2 hours drive north into Switzerland. And I went the day before, 2 days before, and I saw the people going round, and it was about 3 very flash hotels. The Palace and the Grand, a couple of them were called, and they were putting the fences up, and all the people in the jackets arranging everything. And then I went back on the last day. Now, instead of going up to the hotels, I was stopped literally a few minutes after I turned off the main highway.